Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I wanted to show this book to you. This is a book by Goodword. It is on the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and it's actually a book of story mazes. And it's a very good book because it's got wonderful activities in here, but what page I like the most is this last one, and I find that this tells the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam in very simple pictures. As you can see, they're very small, so I'm going to try and focus on them so you can see how tiny they actually are. They're really thumb size, they're really about as big as that. So, but I found them very effective. There's a little storyline at the bottom, and what I did was to make it for a presentation for my class for ages 4 to 6. I find that the story is really very useful. I enlarged these same pictures to the size of maybe an A4 size, and then I colored them in a very simple way, and I laminated them so they're here to keep. They're really good in helping me share the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. I'm going to tell it so that you can see how I've taught it to the children, and maybe this will give you ideas in making more things. Pictures don't have to be so fantastic. And of course, we are told not to draw the faces of people, not to draw faces of our prophets. So we don't go into that. We've kept it as simple as that, and try to make your story interesting enough by using intonations and a little bit of drama, so that adds to the storyline and takes away from what is lacking or missing. This is the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He was Allah's best friend. He lived many thousands of years ago in a village called Ur. The village of Ur is in Iraq. Ibrahim alayhi salam lived here with his father Azar, and his father Azar was an idol worshipper, and his job was to make idols out of clay, wood and stone. And worshipping idols means that the people of Ur used to believe that idols could give them food, that idols could give them anything they wanted if they asked the idols. They used to worship them, meaning they used to pray to them. They didn't pray to Allah. They believed that these idols were their Allah, and not one Allah. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, they had many. Ibrahim alayhi salam could not understand this at all. He kept on telling his father that things just didn't seem right when the village of Ur believed that there was so many Allahs. It's not possible. Allah is only one. But he didn't know that. He was searching. So one day he looked out at the sky when it was night, and he found a beautiful star there. When he looked at it, he said, Hada Rabbi, this must be Allah. But in the morning, when it faded and went away, because naturally in the morning there's no nighttime, the sun's out, so the stars are not seen. So he said, this cannot be Allah, and I don't like things that fade. The next night when he looked at the moon, he saw the moon coming up. He said, this must be Allah. But the moon disappeared in the morning as well. So he knew this could not be his Lord. Then when he saw the sun in the sky, he said, this must be Allah, Hada Rabbi. But at night when the sun went away too, he said, Allah is the one who is the Lord of the sun, the stars and the moon. Allah is the Lord of every one of the things, the creation. Allah is the Lord of the star, the Lord of the moon, and the Lord of the sun. And I don't really understand. Ibrahim alayhi salam knew then that his people were really not making any sense. He had started to believe in La ilaha illallah. There is only one Allah. Now, Azar used to build all these idols out of clay and stone, and when Ibrahim alayhi salam used to tell him, he would never really listen. He used to get kind of really mad at his son. One day the people of Ur were going to a carnival outside the village, and when Azar was going as well, he asked his son Ibrahim to come along with him, and Ibrahim said that he was not really feeling up to it, and so Azar went by himself. When Ibrahim alayhi salam was left by himself, he decided to go to the temple to visit the idols to see whether they actually spoke or talked or ate. But when he went and asked them, and he went into the temple, and when he asked the idols, why don't you eat? They didn't answer. Why don't you speak? But they didn't answer. So Ibrahim a.s. really got annoyed with them. And what he did was, he broke all the idols up, except for the large one. He left and the axe hanging around the neck of the largest one, and he said, when the people return back from the town, back from the carnival, you can answer their questions. Now when the people got back, what did they see? They saw all these broken down, their idols all broken into pieces, and they were really mad. Who could have done this to our idols? They were really annoyed. But they thought to themselves, it must have been Ibrahim, because he was the one who was talking about Allah, their idols all the time, that they were not to be worshipped. Well, they called him to the temple and they asked him, who did this? And Ibrahim a.s. said, well, why don't you ask the big one? And when they turned around to ask the big one, of course, if the idols can't speak. So the people turned around and said, well, the idol can't speak. So Ibrahim a.s. told them, then why do you worship it? Why do you worship these idols? But do you think they were happy with that? No, they were not. They were really annoyed. They didn't like this young man, or young boy, he was not even a man then, telling them what to do. So they got really mad along with the king, even the king was with them. They all decided to build a huge fire which was blazing, and it was so high and so big that nobody really wanted to go anywhere close to it. And what do you think? Ibrahim a.s., was he scared? He wasn't, because he knew that Allah would take care of him. Well, when the fire was burning and when they threw Ibrahim a.s. into the fire, Allah commanded the fire to become cool. Ya naru kuni bardan ala salamun ala Ibrahim. O fire, become cool on Ibrahim. And a fire that burns hot burned cool. It was burning, but it was not burning. It did not burn Ibrahim a.s. It was cool. Subhanallah, Allah can perform miracles, and this was indeed a miracle. And the people were not happy at all. They were not happy that Ibrahim a.s. got away scot-free. To them, they thought he got away scot-free. Well, so Ibrahim a.s. moved away or he didn't live there anymore, and then he had a baby. His baby's name was Ismail. Allah commanded him to take his baby Ismail and his mummy Hajra, his wife, Ibrahim a.s.'s wife, to Makkah. And what was Makkah in those days? Makkah was just this. Can you imagine? Makkah was just a barren land. There was nothing there, just a few hills and rocks and sand dunes and the hot sun. It was a very, very hot place. And can you see? There's nothing growing here. Nothing at all. But Ibrahim a.s. was commanded by Allah, and when he brought his family here, his wife Hajra asked him, are you leaving us here because Allah commanded you to do so? But he didn't say anything, and he went away. And baby Hajra knew that this was what Allah wanted, and she said, Allah will take care of us. And so, of course, they had been left with a few dates and some water. Soon that ran out. There was nothing left anymore. And poor baby Ismail started crying and crying because he was so hungry. His mommy's milk had run out. She hadn't got anything to feed him with. What was going to happen now? Well, Mother Hajra thought maybe there might be a caravan coming on the other side of the mountain, at the side of the hill, or maybe on the other side of the hill. Maybe they might be having some water with them. So she decided to try and see, and she began running. So she ran from this hill to the next hill to see if there was water up here, there was any caravan up here. But when she didn't see any caravan, she ran back down and up that hill again. And could she see any caravan on that side? And there was no caravan, no water. And here's baby Ismail crying away, and she didn't know what to do. So she kept running, and she ran 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And she saw that her baby had stopped crying now. And when she turned around and she looked in his direction, she saw there was water coming out from near where he was lying. And when she went up closer, she saw that to her amazement there was water coming out of the ground. Quickly she drank water and she gave her baby some too. And the water was coming out so fast that she built a basin around the water and told the water, "Zam, zam, stop, stop," so that the water wouldn't flow out everywhere. And soon when people saw that there was water here, because Zamzam, or this was the spring of water that was coming out from the ground, what do you think happens? Soon there were plants and trees growing, and many people who came in caravans along the way thought this was a wonderful place to settle. And soon Makkah became quite a green. There were palm trees growing. It was not very green, but lots of people came to live here because of the water. Now then, one day, soon Ibrahim salam came back to visit his family, and he was very happy to see that Ismail salam had grown up quite a bit. But again, Allah tested him. And now what was the test? He dreamt one night that he was sacrificing his son. Sacrificing his son. Oh dear. Now that means that he was going to give something that was so dear to him in the way of Allah. And the dearest thing to him was his son. And sacrificing means to take someone and cut him, give him for Allah. Well then, what was going to happen now? Ismail alayhi salam, when he told Ismail alayhi salam that this is what Allah had commanded him to do, Ismail alayhi salam told him, "You should do what Allah has told you to do." And so Ibrahim alayhi salam was very happy with that. Now, of course, when he was going to go and do the sacrifice, he was going to go and take Ismail alayhi salam and do the sacrifice. Along comes who do you think? Yes, of course, Shaitan. He didn't want Ibrahim alayhi salam to do this. He knew that that would make Ibrahim alayhi salam very liked by Allah, and he didn't want that to happen. And so he started bothering Ismail alayhi salam and Ibrahim alayhi salam on the way. And whenever he would bother them by saying, "Don't do it, don't do it," Ibrahim alayhi salam would keep on hitting the stones at him. "Go away from here, go away from here." And then when he laid down his son to begin to sacrifice him, he was just about to begin, and suddenly he heard the sound of a ram. Oh my! Subhanallah! Allah Ta'ala had accepted his sacrifice and had placed a ram in the place of Ismail alayhi salam. And Ismail alayhi salam was just fine. And Allah Ta'ala said, "I have accepted your sacrifice, and this is a reward for that. And now you can sacrifice the ram instead." And that's what Ibrahim alayhi salam did. Now from all the tests that he went through, there was a very beautiful present that Allah gave Ibrahim alayhi salam, and that was to build the Kaaba. That was the most beautiful thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Ibrahim alayhi salam to do. And he and Ismail alayhi salam just began to build the Kaaba. There was a special stone there that Ibrahim alayhi salam would climb up on, and that stone worked as an elevator. And whenever he would climb the stone, Ibrahim alayhi salam was able to climb up, up, up. The stone would move up, 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 and he was able to lay the stones, the bricks on top and build the Kaaba. And the Kaaba is quite high. It's about 40, nearly 50 feet high. And so Allah Ta'ala asked Ibrahim alayhi salam to call out to everyone to come and do the pilgrimage. But Ibrahim alayhi salam said, "Who is going to come here? There's not many people living here." But it was Allah's will that Ibrahim alayhi salam should call out, and it is Allah who sends people, who puts it in people's hearts to come for the pilgrimage, for Hajj. And then Allah Ta'ala said, everybody, whoever can come, will come on animals, on any kind of rights. Allah made it the duty of all Muslims, if means and health permitted, to go on pilgrimage to Makkah at least once in a lifetime. And this is called Hajj. So this was the biggest gift that Allah could give to Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail alayhi salam. And today, all of us go, whoever can afford it, go for Hajj. May Allah Ta'ala enable us all to go for Hajj, and may Allah accept our efforts, and may we do good things, and may we do things that Allah loves, and may Allah accept them. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.